Everyone's an anti-racist. Now what? Now, um, leave your now leave your you can leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section and tell me what you think. And make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It says recognizing that black people deserve dignity isn't progress. The new unbridled enthusiasm for the cause of Black lives reminds me of the Dr. Seuss fable Horton Hears a Who. A kindly elephant named Horton becomes aware of a whole planet of creatures called the Whos, living on a single speck of dust. Horton can hear the Whos perfectly and accepts them as friends and equals, but Horton's friends who can't see or hear the Whos denounce him as crazy, and a few of them set out to destroy that speck of dust. It's only when all the Whos raise their voices in a single chorus, "We are here," that they are heard by the larger world. In an instant, Horton's friends' skepticism turns into amazement, and then into a celebration of the Whos, who they now know are real and equal. We are having a Horton moment. White people previously oblivious to the worst kind of racial oppression had their obliviousness shattered by the images of a police officer killing George Floyd. The dam burst, reality rushed in, and a critical mass of whites and others finally saw and heard and felt black people as they never had before. Suddenly everyone is paying attention, loudly declaring their support and commitment to anti-racism, almost as if to make up for the time they had been in denial or silent about it. This is where the Dr. Seuss story happily ends. By virtue of being recognized as equals by the wider world, the Whos are saved. They will never be devalued again. Unfortunately, we are not living in a Dr. Seuss story. The burgeoning new white consciousness about black lives, though significant and encouraging, is not an ending but a beginning. Recognizing that black people matter as much as all other Americans is only acknowledging what's always been true. Embracing blackness as something of value and dignity is a baseline for progress, and not progress itself. It is moving into a position at the starting line, but it's not the race. Going from the current enthusiasm to doing the million things that need to be done simultaneously to start correcting systemic racism, whoever thought that phrase would trend on social media, will be daunting, and not least because it is unprecedented. The last large-scale effort aimed at improving black lives was the war on poverty back in the 60s, and the backlash to that was swift and relentless. In some ways, we're still living it. Critics of the war on poverty didn't object, but just to money being spent. They objected to the notion of helping the black folks specifically because they were not worth helping, at least not to that degree. The ideal of black well-being was worth not so much because it was worth not only so much because it became so embedded in our political life. We stopped seeing it. Now it is coming back into focus. It has taken a long time to get focused on this. It's sobering to realize that the baseline message of black life mattering has been running for generations, from Sojourner Truth's anguished question, "Ain't I a woman?" in 1851 to the black sanitation workers in Memphis proclaiming, "I am a man." In 1868 to Jesse Jackson's revision of that declaration with "I am somebody" in the 70s and 80s to the hashtag Black Lives Matter back in 2013. Over and over, black people have asserted the simple but radical truth of their own humanity and worthiness. Over and over, America has not fully heard them. African Americans kept up the messaging because they've had to, and they've always known that since it's step one in a national process of racism recovery, and as anyone in a 12-step program can attest, you can't make real progress with the higher steps until you get the first one right. Our recovery has been complicated by the nature of our political addiction. As a society, we've been addicted to injustice, from slavery to lynchings to segregation to police brutality, all made possible by a repeated failure to embrace the step one process. Now that we are owning up to that failure, things look to be changing, but can be changed. History and culture are against it. Another one of our great national addictions is consciousness. Convenience anyway. Consciousness should be in that too. Fueled by the uniquely American expectations that things essential for daily living be made cheap, easy, and painless. Racism is a form of convenience in the sense that it's designed to make life easier for its beneficiary, so is white privilege. The phenomenon of not having to think about the cost of oppression or about black people at all. Anti-racism requires the opposite engagement. We are starting to see it in the demands for police reforms and the growing white rejection of symbols of white oppression, like Confederate monuments and flags, even figures of squatters. But this is all part of step one. Being truly anti-racist will require white people to be inconvenienced by new policies and practices, legal and social, that affect everything and everyone's daily lives, from jobs to arts and publishing. It's one thing to declare your support for Black Lives Matter with the lawn sign, and quite another to give up segregated schools or always seeing yourself and people like you as the center of the moral universe. The privilege is not to engage in one that many may be loath to give up, even if they believe engagement is the right thing to do. And yet, the most optimistic part of me says that it could be what has stood for so long has simply fallen away. It could be that the latest black assertion of "we are here" will be the one that breaks through with cumulative force of years of such assertions, opening a floodgate that will remain open not because whites allow it, but because it was supposed to be open all along. If that happens, the road to recovery would not just be an ideal, but a straight line we can actually see.